Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to state something that will probably upset a lot of powerlifting coaches, but the reality is I've just seen too much evidence to this point, and I've seen too many people who don't even do any assistance work who are literally world level lifters. The reality is assistance work, as people think of it for the most part, meaning close variations of an exercise that we use for movement pattern carryover. Okay, for movement pattern carryover, they don't really do much of anything, particularly in a well-structured program, other than the hypertrophy that they bring. And again, a lot of people will get upset with that. They'll say, well, the Larson press really did a lot for my bench. I'm like, Larson press might do a lot for tearing your pec too. I'm not particularly a fan, but will it increase your bench press? Of course. Why? Because it hypertrophies your pecs. It's a decent pec exercise, right? Look at the nature of a Larson press. Will it grow your pecs? Yes. Will bigger pecs generally improve your bench press? Yes. Okay, there's your answer, and it is that simple. And when we run stuff like conjugate, keep in mind, we aren't doing these max lifts because we think we're training carryover. We rotate maxes so that we can max out. Because why do you want to max out? It improves intramuscular and intermuscular coordination, right? It improves coordination. It improves neural drive. Okay? And maxing on different types of deadlifts or hip hinges still produces an ability to hip hinge with a max. It's not that it has better carryover than doing something else. It's just that you're maxing out. So that's one thing I'm going to point out too. If you're looking for movement pattern carryover, you better be maxing, or else you are doing fuck all. You're doing absolutely nothing for movement pattern carryover because our big lifts are maxes. Again, you develop the coordination from maxing. All right, see where we're going with that? So it comes down to hypertrophy. And you know what? Will a Larson press cause hypertrophy? Yes, particularly if the volume and workloads are correct. Of course it will. Does a floor press cause hypertrophy? Yes. The reason we use the floor press a lot is mainly because it gives great pec stimulation while being very shoulder safe because it can limit range of motion. But because of the joint angles involved, a lot of times we can still get a very, very hard pec recruitment. Okay. It's great for people whose shoulders can't handle the full range of motion all the time and to rotate it in. It's one of the reasons we do the floor press. Because what people need to keep in mind, too much of a training a different movement pattern heavy can give you bad movement patterns. Okay, that's a big problem too. I'll see coaches and guys I know who they'll do certain types of pause deadlifts, and I'm like, why are you training to decelerate at your sticking point? I mean, I get it. If you really were worried about a sticking point, you would probably be better, doing dead stop work from that sticking point if you were chasing some sort of movement pattern carryover, or you could just gain more muscle, okay? Because if we're already maxing out, we're already doing speed work, we have all these things. We have all the practice we need. Okay, your dynamic effort work gives you your practice. Also causes hypertrophy, also can help with coordination. Your max work teaches you how to max. What else is left? Because now we've covered our speed strength, our practice, all our coordination. Everything else is hypertrophy. So if this weak point movement that you're doing hypertrophies the muscles involved with the weak link, then sure, it's going to help. But it's not because of the movement pattern. Okay, it's not because, I did this exact movement pattern, because that movement pattern may be actually hurting you, maybe teaching you bad habits. And I think certain types of pause movements can teach really bad habits. They may hurt your ability on that lift. You have to unlearn. But if they're causing hypertrophy, you're good. Floor press causes hypertrophy. Okay, a deficit deadlift done for rep work can cause hypertrophy. Maybe not the best in terms of stimulus to fatigue. But, you guys look at my deadlifts. You guys see me deadlifting up in the 600s at age 45. I don't really do assistance work. I do some pull variations for max because I really like deficits for max effort work. I used to like chains and stuff a little more, but honestly, I love changing deficits. I love changing bars, going from a stiff bar to the power bar, or to a deadlift bar, back and forth. Of course, then I do all my speed work, right? But outside of that, everything's hypertrophy. How do I build a deadlift? Good mornings, reverse hypers, glute ham raises, pull-ups, rows. We could argue my belt squats and sled work, sure, for the quads. People say, well, quads don't limit the deadlift. You're right. Your deadlift will almost never be limited by your quads, sure. But your bar speed will be. Quads help you drive it faster off the floor. If you can drive it faster off the floor, it's easier to lock it. If you can use more quad to drive it off the floor, it saves your hamstrings and stuff a little bit of work once you get it up towards the mid-shin. And it's not a bad thing. What's always going to be the primary movers on a deadlift, though? Glutes and hamstrings. That is what's going to make or break how much you can lift. Erectors after that. Most of the other muscles, though, are stabilizers. They help you maintain the best bar path. It all just comes down to hypertrophy. And if anyone disagrees, look at all the research. Study after study now, when they look at everyone from bodybuilders to elite powerlifters, you can determine someone's total in powerlifting looking at a DEXA scan. In other words, if they take different lifters from different weight classes who compete at world level events, right? Elite powerlifters. Do you know that when they look at the DEXA scans, they've now figured out that they can take a DEXA scan and rank them in order of what their total is going to be? Yeah, literally lean body mass relative to height. They can spit out a formula and take those 20 lifters and know what order their totals are going to be at in competition. Like if they had just done a meet the week before, and it's pretty accurate. Like the one who totaled 2,200 will have a better score on the DEXA scan for this than the guy who totaled 2,100. And he'll have a better one than the guy who totaled 1,900 all the way down the row. Hypertrophy. I'm not saying the other stuff doesn't matter. It obviously does. Or else bodybuilders would all be world record level power lifters. Most of your strength comes from hypertrophy. And I think a lot of this assistance work, I think people dream it up because they want to have that carryover instead of realizing, well, if you just get bigger, if you just gain more muscle mass in your weakest link, you'll blast through that sticking point where you're missing. Now, a little cleaner technique would probably help. You can hypertrophy your way to an elite total. Size raises your strength ceiling. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.